For decades, the Queen Mary has been considered one of the most haunted places on Earth. The former luxury liner has been featured in films, TV shows, even an episode of The X-Files. However, what these media adaptations don't show is that the spirits that still haunt the ship just want to be left alone. Today on Scream to Screen, we're going to go aboard and explore the ghosts of the Queen Mary, the most haunted place on Earth. But before we do that, be sure to subscribe to Graveyard Shift and let us know in the comments which true-life horror stories you'd like us to cover next. On December 1st, 1930, work began on a new ship at the John Brown Shipyard in Clydebank, Scotland. A ship that would dwarf any other ship that had ever been created. A ship that would be 3 times the size of any of its competitors. Initially dubbed Job Number 534, the ship would be built by Scotland's finest workers. The task of building a vessel faster than any before would not be an easy one, and the goal of making the largest luxury liner ever constructed would draw the laser-focused attention of the public. Nearly 20 years after the sinking of the Titanic, during a time when air travel hadn't really taken off, people from all over the world were instantly fascinated by this new state-of-the-art ocean liner. And sometimes, that much attention can be a bad thing. This initially unnamed ship would be the flagship of the Cunard-White Star Line, the most prestigious shipping and ocean liner fleet in the world. She would be placed front and center for the whole world to see. She would typify everything that humanity had to offer in its loftiest goals for luxury seafaring travel, and would spearhead all future human endeavors in the ocean liner industry. She would be christened on her maiden voyage as the Queen Mary. She would become nearly unstoppable. Regardless of how much tragedy or trauma the ship and her crew endured, she would soldier through. The vessel completed 1,001 trips, some of which were even heroic shipments of armaments and troops during World War II. However, for the past few decades, the ship has been retired and permanently docked in Long Beach, California. Still, myths and urban legends about the ship continue to enrapture the public. Its iconic visage and long history of reported paranormal phenomena have secured it a permanent and prominent place within the cultural memory, ensuring that it will be a rich source of discussion and spooky speculation for many years to come. Here are just a few of her otherworldly passengers who came aboard the Queen Mary, but never disembarked. Many haunted locales have myths of a woman in white who lingers between dimensions, but few of them are as iconic or frequently reported as the Queen Mary's own White Lady. The story goes that the White Lady checked in on the Queen's first voyage, and a horrible accident prevented her from checking out, ever. Now she roams the halls of the vessel, crying and searching for a way to leave. She's been spotted in the first-class lounge cabin and throughout many of the hallways, and even pays some of the modern tourists personal visits. This photo is one of the more compelling pieces of evidence that's ever been collected. You can clearly see the silhouette of a woman, garbed all in white, lurking in the shadows at the end of a hallway. The Queen Mary was the embodiment of opulence during its early years on the sea. It was so over the top in its desire to please the rich seafaring folk that there was actually a pool on board. In fact, it didn't have just one pool. It had multiple pools, one per class. Swimming was a joyful pastime for all passengers, old and young, but like so many things involving the infamous Queen, it would have a tragic end. A little girl named Jacqueline Torrin was just 6 years old when she drowned in the ship's second-class pool. After Jackie's passing, the Queen Mary dismantled the pool and turned it into a theater, now dubbed the Royal Theater. Today, visitors report hearing little Jackie splashing and flailing into the wee hours of the morning. In fact, some passengers have even claimed to hear her calling out for help, as if she's doomed to repeat her horrifically premature death over and over again. Some visitors have also claimed to witness Jackie playing at the pool's edge with a little girl named Sarah, who also drowned in the pool in the summer of 1949. Are these two little girls doomed to walk the pool decks of purgatory forever? We may never truly know. John Henry was a seaman who worked in the ship's boiler room. He suffered an accident there and slowly bled to death. Not knowing that anything had happened to him, his shipmates didn't find him until 2 days later. This horrific tragedy obviously untethered John's soul, because it's now said he can be heard working late into the night, cleaning the bulkheads deep in the catacombs of the ship. Some have even interacted with him. One person visiting the Queen Mary said that they got lost, ended up in the boiler room, and a man with a mop and bucket came out, looked at them, and whispered, "You don't want to go in there." John isn't the only person to have died in the Queen Mary's boiler room, though. An unnamed little girl was also found dead there, with half her corpse missing. Literally, only half of a body was found. Many have wondered what could have caused this horrific mishap, and no answers have been given, even to this day. The little girl, now commonly referred to as the boiler room girl, has been spotted crying in the corners of the darkened ship. When she's approached by concerned adults, she simply turns to face them, revealing her missing side and sending shocking chills through all who see her. Many of the visitations and sightings of otherworldly events on the ship have happened in the pre-internet age, but this following story happened only a few short years ago, lending it even more credibility. In the time since the Queen Mary has been turned into a stationary luxury resort, many couples have utilized her facilities for their honeymoons. This story focuses on a web developer husband and his new bride, a copywriter. They chose this more adventurous location for their post-wedding getaway, and upon initially checking in were quite pleased with their accommodations, with one major otherworldly caveat. While he and his new wife were becoming familiar with the surroundings of their cabin, the door abruptly burst open. A man in an old sailor costume stood there in the doorframe for a moment, looking confused. The new husband asked him if he was okay or if he was lost, thinking that the strange man had accidentally walked into the wrong cabin. But the old-timey sailor just shook his head, turned around, and walked out of the room. A few hours later, the newlyweds were caught off guard again when the same sailor abruptly entered the room for a second time. This time, he was angry, very angry. The sailor yelled at the man and woman, asking them why they were disturbing him this way. They were so off-put that they didn't even know how to respond. The sailor quickly turned around and left. The final intrusion occurred around 3 a.m. that night. The sailor returned one last time in a fit of inexplicable rage. He pulled the sheets off their bed, screaming and yelling and frothing at the mouth. The husband got out of bed, grabbed a lamp, and threw it at the sailor, screaming at him to leave. The next morning, the couple went to the front desk and complained about their experience. The clerk informed them that the sailor was the ghost of a former seaman who'd been tragically killed at a very young age. Captain John Treasure Jones was the final captain of the Queen Mary while it was still a functioning ship. He captained the vessel from 1965 to 1967, and his final voyage was from Southampton, England to Long Beach, California. This earned him some serious credibility from the maritime community. Many seafaring professionals had turned down the job for fear of otherworldly consequences. Supernatural stories from the Queen Mary extend far beyond mere cult and conspiracy theory circles. After the vessel was decommissioned and stationed as a hotel and luxury resort off of the Long Beach Pier, Captain Jones lived a long and prosperous life, that is, until he abruptly died in 1993 at the age of 87. It's unknown what his cause of death was, but many have said cancer, because he loved cigars. These days, it seems like his spirit might even have returned to the ship. Many visitors to the Long Beach station Queen Mary have reported smelling cigars wafting through the air late at night. They've also spotted an old man in a captain's uniform standing out on the deck during the wee hours of the morning. Captain Jones has never interacted with anyone in a malicious fashion, but he has been known to occasionally intimidate passengers by gruffly barking at them, "Get off my ship." As a filming location, the Queen Mary has been used in Baywatch, LA Confidential, Batman Forever, MacGyver, The Parent Trap, Pearl Harbor, The Young and the Restless, and The Aviator, just to name a few films and shows. It is also the central focus of the X-Files episode Triangle, which sees Special Agent Mulder traveling through time to World War II, finding himself marooned on the ship with a boatload of Nazis and attempting to get word back to Agent Scully that he's trapped in the Bermuda Triangle. Most recently, the Queen Mary is purportedly the subject of a new trilogy of horror movies that will be released sometime next year. These films will focus on the ship's many journeys, active time periods, and the otherworldly presences on board. The plot is set to center primarily on the intersection between our reality and the next, as seen through the eyes of a young protagonist who comes face to face with spirits from beyond the grave. The first film in the series is simply titled Queen Mary, and is slated to be released at the end of 2021 or in early 2022, depending on how the world looks at that time in regards to COVID-19. The series is being developed and produced by Brett Tomberlin, the co-founder of Imagination Design Works. Tomberlin has said each film in the series will take place during a different era, with the subsequent films being released in 2023 and 2024. It'll be interesting to see which legends he chooses to incorporate. 31 different people have died aboard the Queen Mary over the course of her existence, which means that the storytelling potential here is virtually limitless. Today, the Queen Mary is considered to be one of the most haunted places on Earth, with copious amounts of evidence having been collected, countless eyewitness accounts having been recorded, and numerous television and film specials having been made about the supernatural phenomena on board. The vessel itself has seared its legacy into our collective consciousness, a legacy that has only grown over the years. All we can hope is that the spirits who still reside on the ship manage to one day find some semblance of peace. So what do you think? Is the Queen Mary truly haunted? Are the spirits said to roam its decks, hallways, and bowels, the ghosts of those who've died aboard the luxury liner? Or is this all an elaborate 70 years long charade? And finally, will you be visiting the Queen Mary next time you're in Long Beach, California? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget, like, share, and subscribe for more videos from The Graveyard Shift.